Sean Strickland walked back into Xtreme Couture the same way he always does. No entourage, no fanfare, just a guy who showed up to work. Except this time, he had UFC gold around his waist again. For the second time in his career, Strickland did what nobody believed he could do. He stepped into the cage as the underdog, faced a fighter the world had crowned as unbeatable, and walked out as middleweight champion of the world. At UFC 328, he outworked Khamzat Chimaev, a man who had never lost a professional fight, across 5 brutal rounds to reclaim the title by split decision. Same script, different opponent, different odds, same result. When he pushed through the doors of his gym, on Monday his coaches and training partners were waiting. Not with a parade, not with cameras staged for a production, just the people who had been in that gym at 6 in the morning when nobody was watching, the people who had pushed him, broken him down, and built him back up over and over again until he was impossible to break in the cage. Strickland stood in front of them, belt in hand, and he looked like a man who genuinely understood what he was holding. Not just a title, not just a strap of leather and metal, something that belonged to every single person in that room. "I want to thank you guys," he said. "I'm pretty messed up. I'm going to need a few weeks off." The room laughed. That's Strickland. Even in a moment of genuine emotion, he can't help but be exactly who he is. Then he got serious. "I wouldn't be here without you guys, seriously. It's not just my belt. It's our belt." There's something different about hearing that from Sean Strickland versus hearing it from almost any other fighter on the roster. Because Strickland isn't the kind of guy who says things for optics. He's not polishing his image or crafting a persona for social media. What you see is what you get, which is exactly why that moment hit the way it did. When he said that belt belongs to them, everyone in that gym knew he meant it. Brad Tavares, one of his longtime teammates, kept it simple the way only someone who has actually lived the process can. "Bro, that's just the culmination of hard work. No poetry, no motivational speech. Just the truth from a veteran who has spent years watching Strickland put in the time day after day, and understanding exactly what those rounds at UFC 328 actually represented." Edmund Shabazian added his voice to the moment. Hard work, dedication, consistency. He's a true leader. Again, simple words, but context matters. These aren't strangers watching highlights and offering praise. These are fighters who have shared the mat with Strickland, who have felt what he brings to every training session, who understand the difference between someone who looks good on fight week and someone who actually leads a team from the inside out. Strickland is the latter. Then Kai Kamika said something that reframed the entire moment in a way that nobody in that room was probably expecting. He looked at Strickland and said, "I really appreciate your process. You as a person, truly an inspiration to my son." He paused before adding the part that landed hardest. "I was never champion yet, but he's seen a world champion twice. Last night he was playing UFC, beating up Brad with Uncle Sean." Think about that for a second. Somewhere out, there is a kid who grew up watching his father fight in the UFC. And that kid has now watched his father's training partner become world champion not once, but twice. He's seen it happen in real time. He's playing video games using Uncle Sean as his character and winning. That's what legacy actually looks like. Not a statue, not a documentary. A kid who believes anything is possible because he watched it happen with his own eyes in the real world. Eric Nixick, the head coach at Xtreme Couture, closed it out with the perspective that only someone running the operation from the top can truly offer. "It takes a village, man. We're not here without you guys. I hope you understand that this is a very important ecosystem. Without the guys within this room, we don't have the ability to continue to grow and help you guys grow along with us. This is the testament to a team. Love every one of you guys. That belt, like Sean said, belongs to us. Ecosystem. That's the word Nixick chose. Not team, not family, which has become so overused in combat sports that it barely registers anymore. Ecosystem, because that's what a great gym actually is. Every fighter feeds into the environment. Every sparring session, every hard round, every piece of honest feedback after a bad day creates something larger than any individual. Strickland is the product of that ecosystem, but he also contributes to it. He makes the guys around him better. And when he wins, the entire system wins with him. Here's what tends to get lost in the conversation around Strickland because of how loudly he carries himself outside the cage. The guy is one of the most disciplined, dedicated, focused fighters on the planet. His coaches will tell you that before anyone else does, he does not miss sessions. He does not show up halfway. He doesn't treat training like a job he clocks in and out of. For Strickland, the gym is the job, the purpose, the identity. The fights are just the proof of concept, and the proof of concept has now been delivered twice under the biggest pressure circumstances the middleweight division can produce. His first title was against Israel Adesanya, a generational striker, a man who had rebuilt the middleweight division in his own image and defended it over and over again. Strickland walked in as a massive underdog and outworked him. Then Chimaev, undefeated, feared, one of the most physically dominant fighters the division had ever seen. Strickland walked in as a massive underdog again and outworked him too. At some point you have to stop calling it an upset and start calling it a pattern. What makes Strickland compelling as a champion isn't the controversy that follows him on social media or the sound bites that get clipped and shared millions of times. It's this: a fighter who genuinely loves the process, loves his team, and keeps proving that the quiet work done in an empty gym before anyone is watching is the only thing that actually matters when the cage door closes. He'll take a few weeks off, let his body recover, and then he'll be back in that gym doing exactly what he's always done. Because that's who he is. The belt goes on the shelf. The work never stops. And somewhere in Las Vegas, a kid is playing video games with Uncle Sean as his fighter, already convinced that if you put in the work, nothing is out of reach.